What happens in here?
Basically, this is where the DNA profiles are generated. We have instruments called genetic analyzers, and the samples, once they've been prepped, they go onto this genetic analyzer, and in the end, we get a DNA profile that we can upload into CODIS.
What is she working on over here?
She's analyzing evidence. We have to, even though this is an automated instrument, the analyst has to approve and review all of the profiles to make sure that the data is right, that all the checks and balances are correct, all of our controls came out correctly. The FBI is very strict on their guidelines on what goes into CODIS, so we have to ensure that all the data is of the highest quality that we can generate.
You're talking about CODIS here, and she's just making sure that the data is accurate. When it comes down to crime solving,
yes.
Is it a match game?
It is and it isn't. The match game part is when you have a suspect in a case, and we run the sample from the suspect, and we run the sample from the crime scene. And if it matches, there you have it. However, if we have a case, such as a breaking and entering case, where there is no suspect, we upload it into CODIS, we have no suspect, so we're not doing the match. But when we upload it into CODIS, they get a match there at the national level. For example, we've had cases where we'll put our crime scene evidence into CODIS, and it will match with a convicted felon from another state, and they're able to give us the name of that person that committed the crime in Rhode Island.
You heard me speaking with the director in there about the time in which something takes. 6 months was the number that came out. What's the process here? Why is it months to get some evidence?
It's a very time-consuming process. One of the most consuming parts of it is looking at all the evidence. We can get a lot of evidence in cases. In a homicide, we might get boxes and boxes of evidence. We have to prioritize what we look at. However, even then, we might analyze 10, 20 items in a particular given case because it's a priority for the Attorney General and the investigators. So we have to physically lay out the evidence and examine it and look for a source of DNA. Once we have a source of DNA, we go through several steps down here. First one is extraction, and that's removing the DNA from where it was deposited, be it a blood stain on a rug or a stain on a car or semen stains in a rape case. Could be anything like that. So we remove it from the DNA from the item and we purify it. Next step is we quantitate it. We find out if we got any DNA off of it. And sometimes that can be difficult with old cases. We might get an old cold case and there may be no DNA on it available. The next step is amplification, and that's where we make copies of the DNA in the laboratory. And that's what we use to carry down to this step here of the DNA, generating the DNA profile.
Of the cases that come into this office or into the lab, what percentage actually make it to this step?
I would say approximately 30 to 40%.
30 to 40%?
Of the ones that we're going to process.
I think to the layman that's pretty low. Why is that?
Because there may be no source of DNA. It could be a negative case. The police are very thorough in collecting their crime scene evidence, and they have to, when they're processing a scene, they have to take everything possible before that scene is opened up again. So they're taking things that they may be of no probative use for us, but still we have to look at it and see if there's a source of DNA.